We all want to lower our cardiovascular risk, and we know that the leading cause of death worldwide has a significant basis in what we eat. So today we'll look at the worst foods for our heart and arteries and how to easily identify those that will take years off our life. First up are white rice, pasta, and bread. Here we're talking about refined flours and cereals that come from grains that have been processed to remove all the fiber along with most nutrients, leaving just the inner part, the starch, which turns into sugar as soon as we ingest it. So eating these foods ultimately leads to a result similar to eating table sugar, that is to sudden spikes in insulin, inflammation, and an increase in fat accumulation in the arteries. And as an alternative, we have whole grains such as oats or whole wheat bread and brown rice, which will have a positive effect on our cholesterol levels. First, because they retain the fiber, which will bind to this fat in our intestine and drag it out of the body. But without a doubt, the star compound of whole grains is not fiber, but phytosterols. These are plant compounds that have a structure very similar to cholesterol, so they compete with cholesterol to be absorbed in our body, taking its place, pushing it aside, bothering it, and thus reducing the amount of this fat that ends up entering our organism. Moreover, whole grains, unlike refined ones, will help us control weight, reduce inflammation, and improve our blood sugar levels. And this multiple function will keep our arteries clean of fat deposits and our heart healthy. Notably, a recent study showed that consuming just 28 grams more of whole grains per day decreases the risk of dying from a cardiovascular event by 9%. So, the more whole grains I consume, the more I will reduce that risk. Second are sugary drinks. One of these soft drinks generally contains more added sugar than is recommended for an entire day, and many studies tell us that those who regularly consume sodas tend to gain weight and have a higher risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular diseases. And sugar, in all its refined forms, is undoubtedly a great enemy of our arteries and heart. When we consume white sugar, cane sugar, or any of its forms, our body does everything possible to put it to good use. First, insulin will help it reach our cells, which will try to use it to convert it into energy. But if we already have enough energy available, our liver and muscles will try to store it as glycogen. And here comes the big problem. If the liver and muscle stores are full and there is still an excess of glucose, which happens almost always when I consume pure sugar or sugary drinks, my body will give up and convert this glucose into fat, which will stay in my liver, in my abdomen, and also in my arteries. Of course, I'll be able to indulge in something sugary at a celebration now and then, and it won't make any difference to my health, but it's advisable to cut sugar out of my day-to-day in all its forms, including honey, which is 80% sugar, cane sugar, or artificial sweeteners, which after all have been shown to cause us similar harm as the worst white sugar from the supermarket. Third are fried potatoes. Fried potatoes from restaurants and fast food places are very high in fat and salt, which is bad news for our heart. And regarding this, we have a study that personally fascinated me. Researchers from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition decided to examine 4,000 older adults over a period of 8 years with a single goal: to clarify once and for all if the consumption of fried potatoes is really harmful. And it was seen that indeed, people who consume fried potatoes 2 or 3 times a week were more likely to die prematurely. But, and this is important, the consumption of non-fried potatoes, such as boiled or baked, was not linked to an increased risk of death. And moreover, these preparations are going to be healthy due to their high content of fiber, vitamins, and micronutrients. So it's always better to make our own potatoes at home, for example, baked. And if, like me, you are a gourmet, you can color them with a large amount of spices, replacing the salt. Fourth are bakery products. We all know that cookies, cakes, or donuts should be occasional treats, and that their main ingredient is white flour, which raises our blood sugar and even leads us to feel hungrier, making it difficult to stop eating these products once you start. But what we probably haven't been told is that these are surely the worst food for our heart, being a combination of its 3 great enemies: sugar, saturated fats, and sodium. And also, with a special mention to trans fats. These are fats artificially created by the industry to improve the taste, texture, and durability of these products, and their consumption leads to inflammation and accumulation of bad cholesterol, or LDL, in our arteries. Fifth are processed meats and red meats. It's no secret that processed meats increase our bad cholesterol, or LDL, due to the saturated fats they contain, and that they also increase our blood pressure due to their high salt content. They already have such a level of evidence against them that international medical and nutrition organizations set their recommended weekly consumption at 0. But about red meats, we have a piece of information that we were unaware of until recently. It turns out that there were already studies associating them with an increase in cardiovascular events, but we have new evidence that goes further. And that is a series of new studies has discovered that there is a chemical that our gut bacteria produce when they digest red meat called trimethylamine oxide. And this compound is associated with a higher risk of heart attacks and strokes. But not only that, this risk, moreover, has been quantified. And according to various studies, there is a 1.8% increased risk for every 35 ounces of red meat added to the daily diet. And as good news, researchers also discovered that when people in the studies stopped eating red meat for just 1 month, their levels of this harmful compound drastically reduced. Now, whenever I have a doubt about whether a food is harmful or not, as a guide for our day-to-day, there are 3 questions that work very well to know if a food is harmful to my heart. Does it have added sugars? Does it have a lot of salt? Does it have saturated fats? If the answer to one of these 3 questions is yes, it's advisable to set that food aside from my day-to-day and put it on the occasional list. And see you in the next video. If you liked it, remember to share this video with your contacts on WhatsApp or Telegram. I'll leave you here a similar video that I think might interest you. Take care.